We need to talk about the new Netflix film Uglies because this movie has a big problem. And it's not the fact that the so-called uglies are actually really conventionally attractive as a lot of reviewers have complained and ranted about. I think they're missing the point. And yes, we'll get into that later, but this film takes place in a dystopian society where on your 16th birthday you're given surgery to make you pretty. In this video, I'll tell you what happens and how it could and should have been something really relevant and special. This is what went wrong with Uglies.
Make me pretty!
Before we begin, I'm MadMorph. This is my movie club, so do like and subscribe to join. Let me know in a comment what you thought of this film, or if you haven't seen it, what film you'd like me to watch next. What you need to know is that the protagonist is called Tally Youngblood, the most YA name to ever exist, probably, and there's a lot more bad names in this film still to come. She's 15 and excited to become pretty. This 15-year-old is played by Joey King, a 25-year-old woman who looks both perpetually like a child and also a 40-year-old woman at the exact same time. The film is set in a world where the humans of the past, known as the Rusties, basically destroyed the Earth with fossil fuels and pollution, which devolved into chaos and war. And now, 300 years in the future, Tally Youngblood lives in a place called Uglyville. Yes, they keep the ugly people in a place called Uglyville. And across the river, the pretties live in Pretty Town. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to feel like I could write a novel. Her best friend and love interest is called Nose because of his Owen Wilson-esque honker, and Tally is known as Squint. We get a flashback and her mum's like, boy, I can't wait till they fix them eyes on you, and she literally doesn't look squinty in the film at all. Paris is older than Tally, so he'll be getting the surgery first, and they promise to meet at the bridge between Uglyville and Pretty Town in 3 months' time. But after he gets the surgery that makes him pretty, like a bad Tinder date, he completely ghosts her, but your girl keeps texting. I mean, imagine sending unanswered texts for 3 months saying, I can't wait to see you. Miss Youngblood, take a hint. It's giving parasocial. She gets stood up, so she's like, I'm gonna sneak into Pretty Town, and she finds a pig mask to hide under, which really felt like, oh, check out this little pig running around the pretty people park. She finds Paris and he's like, oh, hey girl, you shouldn't have. No, you really shouldn't have. Not whilst you're an ugly little pig. Come back when you're pretty. So in the meantime, she makes friends with a girl called Shay, who she has a million times more chemistry with, which they never explore. There's apparently a love triangle in this, and it doesn't involve this girl at all, which is criminal. Tally finds out about a revolutionary man called David. No revolutionary should ever be called David. Sorry, Dave. And Shay wants to run away to the smoke. That's where the group of people live that are led by Dave, who don't get the surgery. But Tally says, I don't want to be free, I want to be pretty. And Shay goes alone. But it doesn't look like Tally's gonna get either, because when she turns 16 and it's time for her surgery, this queen bee, Dr. Cable, is like, we're not going to give you the surgery until you find out where your friend is and tell us. We think they're making a weapon to hurt us, and they're going to hurt your friend, so if you want to save her, you better go and find the smoke for us. So after some persuasion from Dr. Cable and Schnoz, she's like, okay, and heads out to find them with directions left behind by Shay, who said, only you will be able to decipher this. Once Tally arrives at the smoke, she falls in love with the lifestyle. It's kind of like a never-ending Burning Man, minus the music, and you actually have to work. It's a place where everybody works and then they share and trade for goods. It's just a little worker utopia. They even say, hey, even our elderly have to work here. We can't spare the people. Okay, it's a grind and side hustle culture with a cottagecore aesthetic where no one gets to retire, but that sucker's in our hero and she's told the big secrets of this world. The pretty surgery is quite literally giving them brain damage. It dulls the emotions and the intelligence of the people who get it, and that is by design. They make the people prettier and dumber to stop the humans from doing what happened before, to stop them from starting chaos and wars. I mean, when you're right, you're right. She also learns that the white tiger orchid being planted everywhere is actually sucking the nutrients out of the earth and killing all the other plant life. They go on this bizarrely placed mission to burn some orchids in a helicopter, and it's like, this is the rebel gang that you haven't been able to locate. They're literally flying around in a helicopter right now. It turns out that Dave's parents are doctors who have created the cure to the brain lesions, and Tally's like, yeah, I kind of like my brain, I'll stay here. She throws her secret spy pendant into the fire thinking it'll destroy it and that'll be the end of it, but it sends a signal to let the baddies know where to find the rebels. Oops. Dr. Cable arrives with an even more advanced gang of pretty people called Specials. They are genetically enhanced super soldiers. They do some TikTok chiropractic work on David's dad and take everyone prisoner, but Tally and David escape. It's at this point when the pacing is all over the place. Everything happens very quickly. The ugly rebels break into Pretty World and free the prisoners, but you're too late. They made Shay look like an extra from 2008's True Blood.
Tally,
They get caught and there's a showdown, because of course there is, and they do their best impression of the Morpheus rescue scene from The Matrix, but instead of a minigun, it's a flamethrower. Are we sure that the Uglies don't also have brain damage? Because why would you shoot a flamethrower into a room with your friends inside it? But somehow it works and they get free and escape again. The rebels win the battle, but they might not have won the war because Shay is still a pretty bimbo. She kind of seems to like being pretty and dumb, and more importantly can't consent to them attempting to use the cure to fix her brain. So Tally offers herself up as a sacrifice. She will become pretty and her friends can come and get her, and they have her consent to test the cure.
Make me pretty!
And again, this would have been a bit more impactful if they'd just played into her and Shay being a thing. It doesn't really feel real when she's doing this for a girl that it feels like she met 3 days ago. But what's even more baffling is why would Dr. Cable and the Pretty Crew agree to this? Wouldn't Tally have just been locked up or done away with? Like, why would they agree to turn her into a pretty person and give her this lovely apartment? It makes no sense. I also kind of feel like Tally is thinking, wait, I get to be pretty and then they're going to fix my brain? That's a win-win. And then the movie ends. Clearly attempting for this note of everything is lost, but there is a glimmer of hope still. It's an Empire Strikes Back-esque cliffhanger, but I don't think you're going to get the sequel. It's one of the worst reviewed movies of the year. Its pacing is a complete mess. We jarringly jump from scene to scene with no way of knowing how much time is meant to be passing. I was left feeling like all of this story takes place within a few days, but apparently it's meant to be months, which means the story advances too quickly to feel any attachment to the characters, or to feel pretty much anything for them. The only chemistry that I saw on the screen was between Shay and Tally, but we're meant to believe that there's a sort of love triangle between the will they won't they brain damaged best friend and the revolutionary Dave. Team Edward, Team Jacob, this is not. It's full of cliches and overused tropes, and ChatGPT probably could have written better. But the biggest crime, and my main problem with this movie, is that just like the Pretties, it is all very surface level and shallow. And that is a shame, because there are some very real topics here that if you took the time to explore properly and to give room to breathe, we could have had a pretty interesting film with a really apt message. Let me explain. The film is about young people being convinced that they are ugly as a form of control. How the dangled carrot of what you could look like and what it could mean for your life would have you sign up for a drastic overhaul, a complete cosmetic surgery. The teens are constantly being shown images of what their pretty self will look like, the same way that filters on social media can poison the way that we see ourselves. I mean, have you ever been looking at yourself with a filter on and you're like, hey, and then when it changes back to your camera phone, you're like, oh god, lock me in a tower, throw away the key, nobody should have to look at this face. Equally, the film could have explored the rise and normalization of young people getting cosmetic treatments. We live in a world where children have skincare routines, where young people are getting plastic surgery, Botox is budgeted for, and the global beauty industry is projected to grow to almost $3,000 billion by 2030. Would including any of this have fixed the film in its current state? Absolutely not, but I would have loved this story to have been told from a fresh perspective and not trying to retread what was successful 10 years ago. Because, make no mistake, that is what's going on here. This is McG and his friends trying to resurrect the YA craze where every book was made into a movie. Do you remember that time? Every author was getting a deal and they were either the biggest thing ever or the films were a complete flop and you never got the sequel. I think we know which one this is going to be. It's also worth considering maybe there was a reason that this one was skipped the first time around, but why are we doing this? Go ahead and adapt some more books, but do it with a modern perspective and a modern technique. If you stuck this movie on and told the person that it was from 2012, they'd probably believe you. That's how bad it is, and I haven't even got to the main issue that people have with it yet. I haven't read the book, so who knows if the actual story covers such things in more depth. And also I do want to say there's nothing wrong with trying to be a throwback to things that worked in the past if you do it well. You know, people really enjoyed those movies. A lot of them flopped though, so you've just kind of recreated the ones that flopped. You haven't actually made anything exciting. And if you enjoyed this film, good for you. Like, genuinely, no judgment. I like some truly terrible movies, and that's fine. We all need a bit of garbage sometimes, a bit of fast food, you know? But now we come to the big issue that other people have with this movie, which I actually kind of disagree with. I'm going to defend the movie on this one, which is everyone is saying in a movie called Uglies, why is everyone conventionally attractive? I can't help but feel that people are missing the point, but maybe I am, so let me explain and you can let me know what you think. In a nutshell, people are annoyed that the Uglies aren't ugly, that they look like Hollywood actors, but isn't that the point? That this is a society that's been convinced they are ugly as a means to convince them to get a procedure so they can be controlled, to live the life of pretty privilege, and to not destroy the world as humans are wont to do. We're actually meant to think they're attractive because the truth is they are, and we all are in our own way. We don't need this surgery. The fact is that all of the people in the world, our world, who feel less than when they look in a mirror because they don't look how they do with filters on, or like the people in the magazines or the people in the movies, they should be leaving with the message of being enough. Yes, you are attractive with your nose. Yes, you're good looking with your squint. Whatever it is that makes you you. We have young people flying to other countries to have all of their teeth pulled out and fake bright white perfect ones put in, and they look weird, and we're telling them that it's fine. So I do think everyone tweeting and mocking the movie for the characters being good looking, you kind of missed the point, right? But I do not blame them for thinking that way. I blame the movie for not effectively raising these themes and conveying that message that I was talking about to point it out. But that's what I think. Let me know what you think in a comment. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know if they're supposed to look really ugly or what. I'm just judging the film. I do think if they had put a bunch of what people consider to be ugly people in this movie, then people probably would have had a problem with that too, because it's 2024 and people love to complain on the internet. So how has the movie been doing, and will it get a sequel? It's been the #2 movie on Netflix, and it's been watched more than 20 million times in its first 3 days, despite getting panned by critics and people online. However, it's kind of unlikely it gets a sequel. This is Netflix after all. They cancel anything that people like or watch, let alone don't like. If they renew this and I didn't get a new season of Santa Clarita Diet, I'll be having words. Overall, the movie just completely missed the mark, but it's not a terrible way to spend, an hour and a half. If you've already got Netflix, it's free to watch, do what you want. It's your life, right? I'm sure for some people, it's a fun throwback to like the movies they watched when they were growing up. For me personally, I really like dystopian stuff, and I think it could have been way better than it was. But it is what it is, and what it is a disposable, throwaway streaming film. So, have you seen it? And what did you think? Let me know in a comment below, and you can be extra pretty by liking and subscribing for more movies and TV talk with me. If you want to check out my gaming channel or my bedtime story podcast, where I read books to help you sleep, you can find those channels in the description below. I'm actually reading Twilight on that podcast, and we're about to finish Eclipse, so maybe I'll come and do the movies here once I finish the books. But thank you for watching. Click one of those videos on the screen, and until next time.